Well, welcome everyone to our last 1 Million Cups event of the year. Obviously, this year has been much different than all prior years for not only this event, but everybody's lives, businesses, and everything going on. So thank you for taking the time out today to come to the last 1 Million Cups slash Spark event. For those of you who have never attended a 1 Million Cups before, we sort of have a hybrid model right now. So we are running 1 Million Cups with Spark afterwards. Our normal 1 Million Cups event would normally be held at the Holiday Inn. We would have one presenter. We would obviously have a lot of coffee, cups of coffee, and a lot of interaction beforehand. So obviously it's a little bit different. But the premise behind 1 Million Cups is to have a presenter come in, and they have some unique business challenges. Sometimes they're a startup, sometimes they're a year or two or a couple of years in, but they want to share their story and solicit feedback from the 1 Million Cups members. So for those of you who have come to the in-person events before, you'll often see the MC is working the room and fielding some of these questions and feedback pieces. So that's the premise behind 1 Million Cups as an operational standpoint. And again, I'm going to jump right into it, and we'll take it from there. So my name is Bill Combs. I'm with No Time for Social. We're a digital marketing agency in Round Rock, Texas, focusing mainly on Facebook advertising, Instagram advertising, and some other email marketing services. So we've been around for 7 years now in the Round Rock area as a company. I've actually been in Round Rock since 1995, so I've got a nice firm firm foundation here in the area, and certainly enjoy being a part of the Round Rock Chamber and all the things that they do. Other organizers, and I'm just going to go through first names because I don't know who's on here. I can only see four video screens right now on my right. So we've got Cynthia from the Round Rock Serving Center, Jeff from T-Works. He's my cohort MC, so oftentimes we'll do MC duties. Josh heads up the one MC now, along with Adriana from the Chamber. So those two will work on getting these events set up. Celicia, Lauren, Mark, Jeremy, I mentioned Adriana, and then our honorary organizer is Mayor Craig Morgan. So this is we're going into, October was going into our fourth year, 18 and 19, 19, 20. So we're going into our third year now, and really has been an exciting time. We've had a lot of really good presenters, and excited to be a part of this community and to continue to lead as a 1 Million Cups organizing group. We have been on some calls for 1 Million Cups, and there's some 1MCs that have not been doing as well as ours. And we've been able to really do a good job of continuing to get people to come back, continuing to engage the community, the entrepreneurship community, and the industry as a whole, and continue to get people on and trying to move their businesses forward. So usually you'll pick up one or two things out of these events, even for your own business. So especially on the Spark event. So I'm really excited about the Spark event. Sponsorships. Obviously Holiday Inn, when we're in person, they will sponsor us, and we do have an agreement with them to hopefully get back there at some point to do some in-person. I'm not sure if that'll be a hybrid later on where we do a stream and we have some people show up, depending on how things look going into next year. Don Quick and Associates, my company, No Time for Social. We run all the social media management for 1MC Round Rock. And of course, the Chamber. We wouldn't be here without the Chamber and their tremendous support throughout this entire process. 1MC was sort of brought to Round Rock through the Round Rock Chamber. So they've been pivotal in our success as we've developed this over time. And now I want to turn it over to our presenter for the day. Presenting today will be Adrian Garcia from RoboCash. I'm going to turn my screen share off, turn it over to him, and he will take over from screen share, and we'll go from there. We'll do about a 6-minute presentation from Adrian. Could go a little bit longer, a little bit shorter. And then usually we have about 20 minutes to answer the 3 questions that he will bring to the table. Obviously, that can expand out from there. There may be some questions, some qualifying questions that need to sort of have us focus. But for the most part, it'll be 6 minutes, 20 minutes. We'll try to wrap it up by about 10:30, and then we'll move over to Spark. So with that, I will turn it over to Adrian and we'll go from there. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, everyone. Let me share my screen here and get started. So start my timer. Hi, so my name is Adrian. I use digital payment to prevent spam without listening to the audio, reading the message, or using pattern detection. This is my patented invention called Spam Cash. FinCom leverages an abundance of fee-free digital nano payments to create trust, express emotion, and drive engagement. The RoboCash app was made to show Spam Cash's effectiveness in a topical subject, phone spam. Our goal is to stop malicious spam in all personal communication while normalizing the fact that you should be paid for your data. So this is our 1 million cups asked. Firstly, we need more users on our applications. Give it a try. Throughout this presentation, if you think of any businesses that are looking for novel ways to increase user engagement with nano payments, let me know at the end. And if you have any other uses of micro paywalls or nano payment that you think could be fun, I'd love to know that too. It's a kind of a new ecosystem that I'm building, and I'm looking for more people to show me their perspective that I may be missing. So I got my first spoof spam call in 2011, and I realized this would be a great social engineering tactic. Since I was wrapping up college and getting ready for grad school, I had no time to work on this. Instead, I tried using call blocking apps. Gmail ruined my voicemail, Truecaller sold my data, RoboKiller took my money, and Hire worked most of the time. But the worst part was I was paying for most of these services and I was still getting spam calls. I realized that over time, spammers work around industry techniques, and it made me curious to figure out why. Why is this such a problem, and why hadn't anyone solved it yet? In late 2018, as I was writing my dissertation, I kept getting bombarded with spam calls, ruining my focus. It drove me insane, and I got obsessed with getting revenge. I researched solutions from a first principles approach and realized that spammers steal billions of dollars from vulnerable Americans every year without getting penalized. I noticed this was a global problem, and the US was only the 7th most spammed country in the world. So I wrote my white paper a few weeks later and submitted a provisional patent in March 2019. Phone spam sucks. 20 years of laws and apps have not stopped the constant increase of spam calls over time. Today's solutions don't address the root cause. They use boring things like spam detection and blacklist databases. Technology is an infinite cat and mouse game. Malicious spammers find ways to beat these techniques because they steal $92 billion a year globally. The FCC fines spammers $200 million, but only collected 7,000. Businesses suffer from lost productivity and get marked as false positive. Our laws are unenforceable and our tech is ineffective. At FinCom, we address the root cause of spam with a nanopayment escrow. RoboCash assigned a digital wallet to your phone number and sends all non-contact calls straight to voicemail. If a non-contact wants to call you, they can deposit 5 cents into your digital wallet. Your phone will ring. If you answer and that phone call lasts more than 25 seconds, the caller gets a full refund because they were good. But if you answer and don't like the call, hang up before 25 seconds and you'll keep their deposit. This is our patented method that lets good callers contact you without paying money and lets you immediately punish bad callers. Additionally, we pay you for every call you block. RoboCash gives you financial control over your phone. We live or die by the network effect. There's two kinds of people that call you: malicious spammers and legitimate businesses who may be annoying, but they are trying to sell legitimate products and services. So our plan is to leverage a long-term supply and demand problem to help these legitimate companies pay consumers via our platform while we take a 30% cut. See, every person that joined our network is one more phone number that will never answer untrusted calls again. This reduces the supply of prospects, which hurts good and bad businesses that use outbound cold contact in their sales channel. Long-term, this will increase demand for these phone numbers. This pain will drive adoption of our patented business method, which lets call centers and market research firms directly pay the consumer for qualitative data instead of paying advertisers for quantitative data. The consumer decides their paywall rate and what their minimum toll rate per minute is. Our test showed that consumers are 100% more likely to answer cash call versus cold call. Unlike our competitors, we made a spam filter that instantly pays our users for every single unwanted call. Additionally, we help customers increase response rates through fintech enhanced messaging, all with the lowest possible cost overhead. We operate in a blend of sectors that we call financial communications, hence our name, FinCom. We're not experts in any of these individual fields, but in that blend, we are the industry pioneers. And we know this because we just got a utility patent that operates in that blend. It covers the personal escrow paywall concept, a time-based refund trigger, toll booth business model, and we have more patents pending to take this into the messaging world. See, our algorithm is neutral. It doesn't have to be stuck to just phone calls. It can be used in text messages, social media direct messages, even video conferencing. So our big vision is to destroy spam communication and restore your right to be paid for your data by using micropayments instead of harvesting your data with advertisement-based data mining. Anyway, product market fit. So we've been in the market for 3 months now. We have 350 monthly average users, organic, which is super cool. We've already made 1,350 payouts per block call, and we're making an average of 30 payouts per block call a day, and actually a lot more than that now, and increasing. So we're pretty excited about that. We have some companies that have expressed strong interest in licensing our IP or just using our technology. So we're going to open up our API backend so that these companies can use micropayments without even thinking about using micropayments. And that's sort of what FinCom is all about. Here's our team. My IP strategy advisor, Peter, has had 3 major exits in the last 10 years worth $300 million. And we just onboarded Christian Rodriguez. So I'm building up a great team, and we're super excited to take the world on. Our exit strategy. So Cisco and IBM would be the first buyers of our IP, because if you look at the bottom, they've had 4 different attempts over the past 20 years to try to solve this problem in different ways. We introduced the concept of a refundable paywall with a time-based component, and that's how we were able to, steal this patent right from IBM and Cisco's noses. So we're super excited about that. But we don't want to sell to those guys. We know that if we get to network effect, get more and more users, we could be the one, that would sell to Google or Apple, or even the telecom if we get more and more users. But really, we know that our goal is different than any of the existing corporations in this world. Our goal is to get you paid for your data and create an environment where you're naturally paid for your data and shift this entire broken data economy back to one that works for us. So for us to meet that, we have to make it all the way to IPO without getting bought out. And so why now? The market rewards unique blockchain-enhanced business model. PayPal is adopting the cryptocurrency network. Brave is a top-rated browser that uses cryptocurrency, and it just beat out Google Chrome and Firefox. Cybersecurity and personal communication, super crucial. Political interference in our elections is a common recurring theme. The FCC requires carriers to implement robocall mitigation by June 2021, and there's sort of an increased awareness of in the public of data privacy and data protection. And that's it. I think that's where I stop. Yeah. So I'll just leave it on the ask, if that's okay. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. So very cool. Awesome technology. This is one of the coolest things I think we've seen in 1 Million Cups since I've been involved in it, which is from the beginning. So really exciting to see this technology. And I've been dabbling around in some Bitcoin and those types of technology. So this is really interesting to me. Let's go into the ask, and then I guess we could field questions in the chat. Obviously, you can also raise a hand or just speak up whenever you want. But number one is we need more users on our app. So that is obviously a broad range of potential responses there. Do you know any businesses looking for novel ways to increase user engagement with nano payments? And then number 3 is, what other uses of micro paywalls do you think could be fun? So I guess I'll start off because I'm always interested in the app download process. With number 1 is I haven't been to your Facebook page, but have you run any Facebook ads to have people download the app?
Yes, we spent $160 on that, and I just wasn't happy with the sort of return that I was getting, so I decided to just build organically first. And we're also we got approved to raise an equity crowdfund with the local equity crowdfunding platform, and part of that is hiring a marketing team that's experienced with equity crowdfund marketing, and so they're going to be running a pretty aggressive marketing campaign starting January or so.
Excellent. That sounds great. Good deal. What other, it looks like there's a question coming up in the chat. Have you been funded yet? Is there any venture capital backing or any funds yet?
It's fully bootstrapped right now. I put in, now with this equity crowdfund coming up, there's a bigger upfront investment. So so far I'm about $37,000 in total money put into the company. Most of that on IP, 10,000 of that on the equity crowdfund stuff. So
okay. And I listened a little bit on the IPO stuff, and it was a little bit fast, but let's just maybe backtrack on that. Did you say you'd rather go that route, or you'd rather get bought out?
Definitely, I'd rather go the IPO route. There's not many people that are trying to get you paid for your data. They want to stick with the status quo because it's more profitable from them that way to just sell your data and keep the money rather than have you get a piece of the pie.
Okay. And how many users have downloaded the app so far?
Well, download we have 520, but only 350 of those have stuck with the app so far. So
that's what I was going to ask next. Okay, very good. Anybody else have anything to add? Answer any of these questions? There we go. How does this fit into European privacy regulations? That's a good question.
Yeah, so we follow the right to be forgotten, the right to download your data, and the right to see all your data. So it's not automated yet; it's a manual process. So if you request via email for any of that, we just comply right away. We already had one person do that a week ago or so. So pretty straightforward.
Got it. Another question is there an Apple version of the app?
That's a great question. There will be. That's one of the things that I want to get built out. That's one of the reasons I'm raising the equity crowdfund to do that. So we're looking at mid Q1 to mid Q2 for an iOS version of this thing.
Okay.
I was going to say, as far as getting new users, because it's such a specific thing that you're doing, I feel like trying to get published, maybe working with a PR company to get some articles published about what you're doing is a smart way to go about organic growth online. I was kind of curious who your competitors are, if any, and what are they doing to get users?
Yeah, I agree. So the marketing firm that I'm onboarding right now, I wanted them to do that specifically to help us get a PR campaign and whatnot. And there's some, we're cross talking past each other because they didn't include that in the contract. So I really want it. I agree. So that's something that we're going to aim for. Our competitors do the same thing. They also do intense PR marketing campaigns where they get published on all of the major journals at once. But they were funded with, a $6 or $7 million Series A round. So, they have a war chest that we don't have right now. Yeah.
On question 2, can you dive a little bit deeper into what types of businesses would want to increase user engagement with nano payments?
Right. So, sorry, go ahead. Okay. Sorry. So with the small business owners, the most common request we've gotten is for getting feedback from anyone who stopped using your business or your service. Like if you're selling software to a local company, or if you're selling product to a local company and then they just stop buying from you and you want to figure out why, did they find someone better? Did they not have the money anymore? What is it? And just getting that person to actually give you that feedback can be a really tough challenge. Just because, we're all so busy. So what we do is we automate a process where when you work with us, we send out a text message to the person that you're trying to reach. And that message says something like, hey, if you pick up this call at 2 p.m., you'll get paid $1 a minute. And then you call them at that time, and our tech makes sure that the call time is counted and that we take care of that payment for you without you thinking about it. So all you have to do is make sure that you have money in your account, and you just make that phone call from your phone, and we just pay out that person according to the exact amount of time that they have allocated and that time has lasted. So it's sort of a way to flip the user psychological effect of being paid for your time and money coming out of nowhere. And it's so small. It's like we've shown that 50 cents a minute is enough to increase cold call pickup rate by 100%, which is pretty awesome. So
very cool. Excellent. And
I have a question kind of along those lines. Is everything you're doing really focused on getting these customers on the phone, or is it going to be somehow transferred into online reviews? Because it seems like the Yelp and the Google reviews and the Facebook reviews, that's something where it takes time. And if people are going to get paid for them, is that something that you're looking into?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to go for. There's that, and then there's also, creating an exchange, like an eBay sort of thing, where whenever someone leaves a review, they get 1% back of the original purchase price. So there's just plenty of incentivized ways to get people to leave reviews, and certainly I think that the messaging space and online forum space is the biggest market out there. The phone is just an easy, simple way to sort of address a big problem, which is robocall, and just make a proof of concept. But we have, there's a lot there. So like, that's cool though. I didn't think of it as a Yelp review type of thing. I was thinking more like an exchange type of thing, like an eBay or whatever. But that's cool. I like that. Thank you.
And for the non-iPhone users, would you be able to do this through the website, like register and still be able to get? Well, I'm sorry, for the iPhone users, correct me. For people that have an iPhone right now, do you have a way to use the platform?
People that have iPhones can, so anyone with the phone number can sign up through the website and deposit money into their account and make calls to anyone that has the RoboCash app. But as far as using it as a call screener, you have to have the actual app to make that happen.
There's any hands raised at this point? Mark Richardson has a question.
Yeah, so Adrian, have you looked into, is there any liability concerns you have? Because you're basically intercepting every call coming into that phone and either hanging up on them or allowing it to go through. Have you looked into liability issues?
Well, so we don't hang up on them. We reject a call. It sends them to voicemail.
That's right, it's in voicemail.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so that alone mitigates a lot of the liability there. But there are what I've had come up before in the past are questions. What if someone using your service still gets scammed, and it was from someone that participated? Someone actually left a nano deposit and called your user and managed to scam them. All of our competitors have this problem too, and it's basically just a line in your terms and conditions that says, we're not liable for any like scams and blah 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 and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm not too concerned with that. I am a little concerned with the escrow part of this thing, because we're moving money around on your behalf, and it's sort of a gray area that we're operating in because the SEC and the IRS do not look at cryptocurrencies as currency. It's a commodity. So we're technically skirting through the KYC AML rules right now. There's a lot of gray area stuff that we're planning right now, but those are the best kinds of businesses to build, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for the question.
Looks like there's another question about whether or not you can use it on landlines. Excuse me.
Yeah, absolutely. So landline, the cool thing about our tech is that it's so easy to deploy. I mean, the thing is, to make it work with landline, we would need to work with the telcos. We need to work with AT&T, Verizon, and have them integrate this code that we have into their backend, or just call our APIs. And it's like, it's so fast that it would not, like, it would be very easy to get it deployed on landline. It would just have to be a partnership with those guys that we do. So, and we need to make some noise first, which is where the Android and iOS app comes in. And, we show that we have like hundreds of thousands of people using our services and they all love it. And then we can go and talk to the big boys.
Yeah, that was my question. And I ask because my 87-year-old mother gets 13 to 15 spam calls per day, and it's about to drive her nuts. So once you get to that point, that might be a good market.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear about that. It's landlines are just a hotbed for that. My parents had the same thing, and they still do. I go home and the phone's ringing off the hook. And honestly, it's one of the reasons why I went into this business.
Excellent.
I was going to say my last comment was when you were doing the presentation, I had anxiety that I wasn't going to understand what this was. And then when you explained the way the transactions worked in like really simple terms when you were answering a question a couple of questions ago, it all finally like came together for me. So I would just say when you're working with your marketing company, like simplifying the language of how this works is going to probably be your key to success. And the terms you use, like micropayments even, is just, people haven't heard that term yet. So think about how you would explain it to someone who's never, ever even come in contact with anything close to this. So just a little bit of feedback there, because I think it's a really cool idea, but it took me a little while to get on board with it, I think.
Well, and that also ties back into like your ideal customer avatar. Like what is the age range? Like who is it? 20-year-olds that are annoyed, or is it somebody that's 87 that has a landline?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's obviously something to think about, especially if you're trying to get people to download the app. At some point, you're going to have to mass go after that crowd. And that's the key there is adoption.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to echo that to what Jessica was saying, because I think somebody that's a completely ridiculously bad at technology. So it was just funny because I'll tell you guys, my whole company is built around technology. We'll talk about this in a second. But anyway, so when I watch your presentation, I felt that same kind of anxiety. I was like, I'm still not entirely sure I know what you do, but I have a little bit better idea. I think, again, the feedback that Jessica gave about simplifying your message, that's an entrepreneur's, nightmare. It's something we all have to deal with. And I've talked about this with my mentor too. Huge companies. What does Facebook do? Could they say in one sentence what they do? Probably not. So it's not a small company startup problem. It's something we all deal with. But I think for you, if you could say in one sentence what you do and then build your presentation around that so that you're constantly hammering, this is what we do. Because I got very lost in what do you do and who's your target market? Are you B2B, B2C? I mean, I know that you're B2B, but ultimately there's so much talk about the consumer end and monetizing what you're doing for them, and that the customer is picking up the call and you get paid if you're the customer to pick up this call. That kind of loses what the message really is, which is you're talking to a business owner saying, this is a way for you to get feedback from your customers and get more information. So I think just clarifying to what the other guys have said, who is exactly your target demographic? How do you speak to them? Showing what you do in pictures and getting rid of some of the words allows people to really focus on what you're saying, but always hammering that one sentence of what it is you do. And I think cleaning up your presentation a little bit and just simplifying, and I say clean up, but simplifying it will probably help your cause when you get ready to go pitch this to 1 million people that are, you're trying to get all these people to understand what you do and get on board. So that's my feedback as well, is just simplifying and bringing it back to, maybe more pictures than words and a really simple message.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the great feedback, everyone. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm actually working with a storyteller on this because I come from an engineering background, so I have I don't know. It's just hard for me to speak normal.
Story brand. Great book. Okay, I know we had a couple other questions in here that weren't necessarily 100% related to the 3 topics at hand. Adrian has put his email address in the on the slide, so if you want to jot that down, and Adrian, if you want to pop that also into the chat, just so it's available as you change the slides back over to my screen share or release that out. And I would welcome everybody to reach out to Adrian, and if there's any other feedback or information you can provide him, that would be phenomenal. But I know we're coming up on 9:35 now. We want to move into the next realm of our deal. So any parting comments, Adrian?
It was just, lovely to get everyone's feedback here, and thank you for listening. And yeah, thanks a lot.
That's great. Thank you so much. Cool. All right. Well, let me move back over to the screen share for 1MC. And all right. So that concludes our 1 million cup side of things. And we have another event January 6th, February 3rd, in talking with Mark Richardson. It looks like we've already started the process of lining a few people up. So you'll see some emails come out from the 1 million cups email server once we get everything wrapped up today. The website's there. And if you want to apply to share your story, certainly go to the website. You can register and apply to present here. And we've had some local presenters before, and just a great group of people come on. So be happy to have you and go through that process. You can catch us on Facebook, Twitter, #1MCRR. There's our website. Definitely stay connected with us. And that concludes the 1 million cup side of things. And now I'm going to turn the audio portion of this over to Jessica. I'll still run some slides here, and we'll move into the Spark event, which I'm very excited about. So we've got a great speaker today, and excited to move on. So Jessica, take it from here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. So this is our final Spark event of the year. These are usually quarterly events, but if you've noticed, we squeezed a bunch of them in here at the end of the year because of COVID. But I'm really excited for today. I want to encourage you to, if you haven't already, follow the Chamber on social media, sign up for the newsletter. That way you can make sure to get the Spark schedule for next year as it's released. This wonderful event has been sponsored since its beginning by Richards, Rodriguez, and Ski, my favorite business attorney law firm, and local partner Jim Howitz is here, and I'm going to turn it over to him so he can talk to y'all for a little bit. Jim?
Jessica, thank you for that celebrity endorsement. I think I'm going to put that on our logo.
Jessica's favorite law firm.
Appreciate it. Jessica's favorite law firm. Yeah. Thanks everybody for coming. I'm going to be brief because we're running. We're going to get to the meat of the event, which is listening to our guests share their story. Briefly, my firm is a business law firm. There's 15 attorneys, and our goal is to be your general counsel for business. So what that means is any question that you would have where you think I ought to call a lawyer, or any question that you might have where I just don't know what to do with right now in this business situation, you would call us and we would help you. The 15 of us are experts in business law, contract law, employment law, litigation, intellectual property, basically everything that you need for your business. And if we don't do the work in-house, we will help you find somebody that will get that level of expertise that you need. So we want to be basically your one-stop shop for legal services. And we've been very happy to sponsor Spark. Since the beginning, we want to support entrepreneurship in Round Rock. And, the way that I get customers is I either go out and find them or we grow them from little businesses to bigger businesses. And so, this is a way that we can encourage people to go out and grow and thrive. And we're really happy to do that. And we're going to be sponsoring Spark again next year, which is great. So everybody in person. And the thing I'll leave you with is that what I've been trying to say to folks all year is please try to get to know a lawyer, a business lawyer, somebody that will help you with your business that you feel comfortable with before you need them, because you're going to make the right choice of legal counsel if you invest some time in working on your business and getting advisors like attorneys to help you. And you need to find somebody that you feel comfortable with, that you trust, and that you feel like can get you the information and the advice that you need. So thanks again, and look forward to next year and to today's presentation.
Yay. Well, and Jim is a runner, so I'm sure he's interested in learning this. I see him
kind
running.
of a runner.
Kind of a runner.
Yeah.
All right. So here's my intro. Dr. Kimberly Davis is the founder and CEO of RunLab. Dr. Davis and her team treat runners of every shape, size, experience level from all over the United States, and have worked with Olympic and junior gold medalists, national champions, elite and professional runners and triathletes, and every type of recreational runner imaginable, including brand new runners and those with special needs. RunLab is an Austin-based company that's focused on gait diagnostics and movement science. RunLab has 2 Austin locations, which provide gait evaluation services, sport-specific rehab, gait retraining, community education, and footwear recommendations to the Austin running community. RunLab US is the national arm of RunLab, launched in 2018, which provides access to patent-pending full body structure, range of motion, strength, and movement analysis with footwear prescription through RunLab Gait Imaging Centers located across the country. Kim and her is also the co-founder of Empowered Coffee, winner of the Entrepreneur Opportunity Contest in 2019, and a winner of Austin's Fastest 50, I think 2 years in a row. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
COVID world,
So-
man. I don't remember anything.
So
Pre-COVID and post-COVID.
So let's welcome Kimberly. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, you guys. This is really cool. I am super excited to know about this organization and everything you guys are doing. And this is my first experience with this at all. So if anybody, if there's anything, questions that you guys have along the way or are confused about anything that I'm talking about, please just hit me up and we can make this kind of low key on that side of things. Anyway, so I guess my journey with this company. So like Jessica said, we do gait analysis, motion analysis. Ultimately, we're building out golf analysis in the same vertical as what we do for running. But essentially, I'll kind of start from the beginning and my story getting into this and why I got into this whole thing. So I grew up super poor as a kid, welfare, food stamps, single parent household, the whole deal. No modeling of entrepreneurship or business ownership or anything like that. My mom just kind of pieced together odd jobs to make things work. And that was my life. So I knew really early on there was not going to be money for college. There was not going to be money for anything. And so in 5th grade, I had a lot of foresight as a child. And I decided I was going to teach myself to play an instrument and just get really good at it. And that's how I was going to put myself through school. So I did. I took the last thing they had left at the band room, which was a trumpet, and it was all bent and the tuning slide was stuck and the keys didn't work and all these things. But I was like, fuck it. I'm going to take it. I'm going to learn this thing. And that's what happened. And I ended up putting myself through college on trumpet scholarship. So somewhere along the way, I loved music. I was into all of that, but I decided I really didn't want to be a band teacher or try to be a musician, right? And live in a van down by the river, trying to make ends meet. So I decided to start taking some, pre-med classes and things, and was kind of going down that road. Well, while I was in college, I decided to start running, because I really wanted to do a triathlon. I was super afraid of the water. This was a big fear of mine. I didn't know how to swim I didn't know how to swim at all. But when I first started getting in the pool, I couldn't even make it from one end to the other. And I decided I'm going to do a triathlon. I'm going to conquer this fear. So through that process, I started running. Well, I was probably mid early 20s at this point. And I just started getting injured, and I got injured over and over and over again. And I just would chase one, my knee would hurt. I'd kind of get over that. I'd start having Achilles problem or whatever, chase all these things around. So I knew there was something in the way that I was running that was causing these issues, but I didn't know how to solve it. And so I went through all the traditional medical channels, went through, tried physical therapy, tried going to a coach and a trainer and all these different people. And nobody would really talk about the running aspect. They always wanted to talk about the knee or talk about the ankle or whatever it was. So I finally ended up in an orthopedist's office, and they did an MRI. I was having this knee thing that just kind of wouldn't go away. And this conversation was the thing that ended up changing the course of my life, because I remember the conversation so clearly because I sat in his office and he looked at my MRI and he looked at me and he said, "Kim, there's nothing wrong with your knee. You probably just need to stop running because running is bad for your knees and you should probably just take up cycling." And I'm like, really? This is a total horseshit answer, because there's got to be some talk about biomechanics here. Like, you are an orthopedist who specializes in runners, and this is your answer. I had run 9 miles to my appointment that day, right? And I'm in my little Ironman training hat or whatever. Anyway, threw his card away, made a huge pivot in my life, decided, screw medical school. I was going to go to be, I was a firefighter and an EMT at the time, and I was going to go to medical school to be an ER doctor. And that was the day I decided I was going to pivot and learn everything I could about biomechanics. So I didn't know anything about chiropractic at the time, but I was like, I know chiropractors work with the human body and they don't work in the medical space. They're not prescribing drugs. So I decided to go to chiropractic school. So I started chiropractic school, having never been to a chiropractor before. So I didn't know anything about it, but I had all my pre-med stuff and I was like, all right, here we go. So went to chiro school, ended up being a great decision. There's a lot of crazy people in this field. So I battle that aspect of things because there's a lot of woo-woo kind of weird shit going on, but also you learn a lot about biomechanics and the human body. So got out of school, worked on all my own stuff, solved all of my own biomechanics issues, have done 4 Ironmans. I've done 12 to 72 hour adventure races, like 3 days of racing nonstop kind of stuff, running 180 miles over the course of, plus biking, plus all this other stuff. Anyway, point is, I've done all these things, have had no running related injuries in 15 years, probably, because I worked on my biomechanics. I was running 80-mile weeks, no problems, right? So I thought to myself, if I can solve my own stuff, I can solve anybody's stuff. Furthermore, the medical world is broken in their approach to people who are athletic, because they want to rub on the owie, but they don't want to find where the owie came from, right? And so if you break your knee in a football game, well, of course, we know what we need to do about it. But if your knee starts hurting because you run all the time, or because you're going to the gym and doing CrossFit and you're squatting funny, but nobody's ever watching you squat, nobody gets to the root of that issue. So that's why I started the company. Now, when I started the company, I had no idea what I was doing. Zero idea. Never had a business class. Didn't know anything about business. Didn't know what a P&L statement was, But I was on this snowboarding trip in Oregon, and I thought of the name. I was like, RunLab. I said, RunLab is a good name. I think so. I've got a good name, and I generally know what I want to do. So that should be enough, right? So went, signed a lease, decided I was going to do this thing. I have this there. I don't know if any of you guys watch South Park, but there's a South Park episode about the boys and the underpants gnomes. And there's this whole thing where the underpants gnomes like steal underwear. And their whole thing that they go through with their business plan for this is, step 1, steal underpants. Step 2, Step 3, profit. That's the RunLab model. We're like, okay, step 1, start RunLab. Step 2, no idea. Step 3, profit. So this was definitely the way the business started. And so I stuck my sign up there, and I, put my name on the door, and I said, okay, people are going to come, right? Like, if you build it, they will come. Well, that's total horseshit. You sit there all day waiting for people to come, and they do not come. So I started the guerrilla marketing tactics of, going out onto the trail and like throwing RunLab cards at people as they're running by. I used to put RunLabs stickers all over the trail. People would go and peel them off because clearly not supposed to do that, right? We're tagging. So anyway, we would go tag the city with RunLab. We did, anything I could think of. We put the mannequins that you put shirts on in retail stores. We put a naked one of those mannequins out on the street corner with a RunLab visor on, and people would come take pictures with it. And then we would pull them inside and be like, hey, do you want a free taco? Also, let me tell you what we do here. Like it was that kind of a start to things. My first treadmill, it was me and a little tiny video camera, right? And so I'd bring people in and I would videotape them and I would try to show them on this like 1-inch screen, like, see how your hip is dropping here? That's why your knee is giving you problems. We had a treadmill that caught on fire. So many things about startup world, right? That are just horrifying when you think back and you think I would never want to do that again, except startup is the greatest time in a business because you're so starry-eyed and there's so much opportunity and you don't know what you don't know. And so you're not in the muck of all this yet. So I learned a lot in those first couple of years, and the business started to get some traction because we were doing some very innovative stuff, and I always envisioned being the place that people could come that was bridging the gap between what a shoe store offers. Because, you can go into a running specialty shoe store. They'll maybe put you on the treadmill. They'll say, oh, we're going to look at your foot. Oh, you pronate. Let's put you in a stability shoe, or you supinate, or whatever. Well, all that stuff is super antiquated. If you ask that kid what pronation is, he cannot tell you. They will tell you that it's your ankle rolling in. It's a much more complicated biomechanical situation. They do not know what they're talking about. So we've got that subset in the shoe world. And then we've got really fancy instrumented treadmill gait labs that you can find in places like Colorado Springs or at some of the universities. UT has some stuff. So you've got those two options, but there was nothing in between. And so that's what RunLab has tried to do, is fill that gap and be an accessible place for people to get looked at full body with their biomechanics to understand, why is that knee hurting? Why is that ankle hurting? Why are they getting pain when they move? So that was what we were trying to do. So over the first couple of years, we started to get some traction in the community, huge running community in Austin. Nobody was really doing what we do. Then we started to have people fly in from out of state. And I was like, man, we have the interwebs. We should probably not have people have to get on an airplane to come and see us. And so I started to try to think about ways to scale the business. And one of the mistakes I made early on was trying to grow too fast, because I was seeing where we were going, but I was seeing probably where we were going a year from then, not where we were then. And so I opened a second location out in Lakeway way too early, and then realized I was doing most of the work in the business and I can't be in two locations. And so I had to have somebody that I trusted out there, and I trusted him, but he didn't have my oversight, and he didn't have, me. I wasn't cloning myself. So I was spread too thin, too fast. Didn't have systems in place. Didn't have any way to put what was in my head and my systems that I had built for inside my brain into his brain. And so ultimately ended up having a number of things go wrong with that situation out there, but ended up having to walk the lease. Now, we were able to get out of it without them coming after us, because there were many problems, but they had at one point gone up onto the roof and tried to put some signage up there and put a hole in our roof. So our place flooded at one point. Also, there was a dog place next door. And so the dog pee was coming through the wall. So the place smelled like dog pee, which was awesome for business, as you can imagine. So there were problems with it. So they never came after us anyway. But that was dodging a bullet. And what I learned from that was, oh my God, don't scale until you're ready. Don't scale just because your idea is good and people all over the place want it. Own your current territory like a ninja, and then go scale it once you have systems that can very easily be dropped into other places. So that was a lesson learned very early on. I think I was like 2 years into the business when I tried to open that second location. So then I kept going down this road of trying to figure out how to scale. And what I thought for a while is I wanted to be an education company. I thought, there's personal trainers and there's other physical therapists out there. There's people like me that want to know more about gait and movement and motion analysis, but there's not good training. I had to teach myself. I had to just dig into the research in the books and learn it all, build my own systems. So I thought, well, I have a system. I can go train other people how to do it. So I built all this cool education stuff, and I went out and started teaching seminars, and I'd come back after, just fire hose of biomechanics onto people all weekend. And then they'd come out of it and I'd think, great, I'm going to call them RunLabs certified. They can go start doing gait analysis in their home clinics, and we're going to spread our brand around the country. And then I get calls from these people like, how do you set that video up again? Which part of the iPhone do you use for the video? And I'm like, oh my God, I can't put my brand on all these people. They can't even take a video of a person running, much less analyze it and talk about tibial torsion, So like very quickly pulled back from that idea, turned all of that stuff into internal training content for my team so I could train my own people. And and then I thought, well, maybe I can partner, because what we're really good at as a company is diagnostics. We can take somebody, film them through our process, look at the way that they move and the way that their body is built, their structure, their range of motion, all these pieces. And then we build them this really cool report. So I built this whole report that's like 15 pages that breaks everything down about somebody's structure, their range of motion, their strength, and then their gait, the way they move, frame by frame. We look at all that stuff and we give them this report that says, here's what's going right, here's what's going wrong, here's what you need to do about it. And we thought they could then take that report to their home physical therapist, doctor, trainer, whatever. That person could work on those issues with them, and then we could just be the diagnostic company. So tried to go down that road, build like seven or eight partnerships around the country in the first year, and then would get calls every day from those PTs saying, this is awesome, we love this, but how do you do gait training with somebody? And I was like, we're having to do just as much work to help that PT go through the gait training as if we would have just taken the whole life cycle of the patient on ourselves. So then that's when I started building the virtual model. The virtual model, we are still too far ahead of the market on this, but we've got an entire healthcare system where we can see people and work with them on their gait, on their, on their motion analysis, on all these things we do here in Austin. We can do all this stuff virtually, other than rub on them. We actually can't, obviously do that piece. We can do everything else. So the problem with it, though, is that people are not quite ready for that. COVID has pushed it forward a little bit, telemedicine for sure, but people are still more comfortable with it in the traditional scenario where they call their MD and they get a prescription or whatever. They're not really quite ready to, do gait training in front of the camera. So once that light switch gets flipped and a lot of the millennials get into needing healthcare, they're very comfortable in a virtual environment. So we're probably 5 years ahead of our time right now, but we're playing the long game on this. So that has become the sort of the long game model. I had this, we were doing great. We were due for a record year. We're about I say we're doing great. We start, starting from zero and being completely bootstrapped, self-funded. It's not like we're some huge mega company or anything, but we were supposed to do 1.6 million this year, which is pretty good from zero, and we get $65 per visit from insurance. So we're not dealing in high dollar amount things. So we were supposed to do 1.6, and then COVID hit. I had to cut my team from 26 down to 2, which was great. So that became a thing, and then we have rebuilt and scratched our way back up, and we're back to doing okay again. But it was very much a very, very scary, horrible thing. Anyway, so to kind of go back to where we are now, I was on a road trip real early in COVID, probably April timeframe. And my plan had been, again, I didn't want to partner with people because that wasn't working. I didn't want to teach other people how to do this because that wasn't working. I decided that maybe the plan should be to roll up other small footprint physical therapy facilities around the country. Because if I've got one clinic in a state, I then get access to telemedicine in that entire state. So for our long game strategy, that's the move, right? I just need one in each state that matters to us, active states that have marathons, that sort of thing. So that became the plan. Well, then COVID hit, and I was like, you know what? Therapy clinics are not doing poorly, but who's doing terrible is gyms. And so I ended up, I have no risk aversion whatsoever. One of my favorite quotes is, jump off the cliff and you'll build your wings on the way down. Like, that is my strategy for life. And sometimes I hit the bottom and smash into a million parts, but sometimes I fly, right? So this is very much one of those situations. But what I've done in the last 2 months, I bought 2 facilities. So I bought a facility out in Arizona, and it is kind of an Orange Theory type of group fitness place. And we're implementing our RunLabs stuff into it. And then we'll put the golf piece in there because it's Phoenix and they're flooded with golfers. And then I just bought one in Colorado that is more of a CrossFit facility, but also has kind of an Orange Theory component to it. We'll do the same thing. And so that's where we are now. Is I have 3 facilities in 3 states. We have a virtual model that can capture anybody anywhere in the US. But we are clawing back out of this COVID thing. I mean, this has been, for a service industry business, it's rough times, right? And I mean, I can't tell you, I don't sleep, like you guys all know it. If you're in this world, this either has to be something you absolutely love with all of your stuff inside you, and you also probably have some serious mental demons. If you're anything like me, I've got all of those pieces. It all, though, ends up being the thing that gets me up every single morning to do this again, and to know that I'm not going to sleep tonight either. And I'm going to find out, like I found out yesterday, this Colorado facility I just built, supposedly they had 250 members. And they were getting $140, $60 a member or whatever. So we had this set amount of revenue we thought we were getting. Found out yesterday that, they have those 250 members they promised us, but they're averaging $83 a person, which means there's a bunch of people coming in for free on bro deals, whatever, that they didn't tell us about. So now I have a facility that's making half of what they said they were making when I bought it. And we are it's another day of, oh shit, because all of these things I had planned to go in there and fix it up and put our RunLabs stuff in, all that, I have no money to do it. I barely have money to pay the staff. So, every day feels like a new giant fire or a hole in the dam you got to stick your finger in. But at the end of the day, I look back to, day 1 of RunLab and, oh my God, and I'm like, okay, we figured out the part, that's really cool. Like, we're a profitable company. I think one of the things that is something I always look back on is there was a really pivotal moment in building this thing. And that was, I was on a plane and I realized, so I'm part of EO, and I'll talk about that in a second, because I think for any of you that are not familiar or part of EO, it's an awesome organization, or Vistage or something like it. But anyway, so I was on a plane, and one thing they talk about a lot in EO is working on the business, not working in the business, if you really want to grow it. Because if you're in the business all the time, you can't be looking at the 10,000 foot view. You can't be the visionary, which you need to be as the CEO. And so I thought, God, how can I get myself out of the business? Because I'm doing all the gait analysis and everything else. And people, the problem is they would come in and they would see me for the gait analysis and for the initial eval, and then I would hand them off to my techs or whatever. Well, then they would want to come back and see me, because they're like, well, you're the founder, and we want to see you. You're the best one at this. So what I started doing was handing it off immediately. I would never even evaluate the person. I would put them in front of my tech, have them do it, and I would just do everything in the background, kind of puppet master. But they never interacted with me, so they never knew any different. Even if my tech was 50% as good as I was, that person was 80% better than anything out there in the industry already. So that unstuck that bottleneck for me and was the absolute moment that allowed me to scale. However, the very first time, so I had handed over this gait analysis process, and this is like the thing that we do that's different, like the foundation of our company, right? So I come in and I sit back in the back and I watch my guy do this gait analysis, and he puts this person's videos up on this big screen, and he spends an hour. Now, we don't take an hour and a half to do this anymore, but back in the old days, I had this guy that would just talk about biomechanics. So he took an hour and a half with this girl, and he's telling her all this stuff, and then we used to, back then, we would take, when we do their videos, we would not show their head, because I wanted to always be able to use those for training videos later and not have a HIPAA problem. So this girl leaves, and I'm looking at, I'm like, something is not right about this. And I realized he had just done an hour and a half gait analysis on the absolute wrong person. And she did not know it was her. Not only was it the wrong person, the girl on the screen was black. And the girl sitting here was just a tan white girl. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Right? Like, this just happened. And you know what? That girl didn't know. And she just set up 6 more appointments. That was just big of like aha moment in my mind of, us as entrepreneurs, like we have this thing in our heads that everything has to be perfect all the time. I promise you that is not the case. It has to be better than everything else that's out there, and people will come back and spend money with you. So that was a big aha moment for me, was okay, we can't have this ever happen again, but holy crap, that girl just booked 6 more appointments and that was the wrong person. So it was, lots of moments like that, unfortunately, along the way. We're much better now, but also it inspired a lot of, hey, we need to build some better systems and some quality control and just some, some other things. So anyway, that's kind of my, that's kind of my journey. I think a couple of cool things recently, like Jessica said, I was a Profiles Empower, Women CEO thing finalist, I think last year. And, we won fastest 50 growing, like Jessica mentioned, in fastest, 50 fastest growing companies in Central Texas a couple of years. And then the coolest one actually was last year. I think it was last year. It's a blur at this point. So I was in a contest. I was chosen as a finalist to pitch against a bunch of other, I think there were 4 other companies, and it was the Entrepreneurial Opportunity of the Year contest. They put it on with the Business Journal, but it's a countrywide thing. And so they would pick regional winners. And so I pitched against, I'm not even kidding here, you guys, the other 4 companies, I wrote this down because I don't want to forget. There was one that was a company that helped wounded warriors in the field. There was a company that helped Make-A-Wish Foundation children, connected them with like their wish partners. And then there was another company that helped place teachers in underserved areas. By the time I get done with my pitch about we help people run better, I'm like, my team left. They didn't even stay for the final thing because they're like, oh my God, yeah, good luck against like that row of people, right? I won. And because people were like, this company has some legs, what you guys are trying to do has a wide, it solves a pain point in an industry. The healthcare industry is broken, right? And there's 110 million people in the United States who walk or run for fitness, and nobody's watching them do this. If somebody comes into a doctor's office and says, I hurt when I run, why would we not watch them run? Why would we not just say, what they do is say, your knee hurts, let's put some ultrasound on it, do some physical therapy, whatever. We got to watch people move, right? With whatever is going on. So same thing with golf, same thing with throwing a baseball, same thing with swimming, whatever the activity is that's hurting the person, we have to watch them do that to understand where the problem is. Because almost never is the problem where the pain is. If the knee hurts, it's because the knee's being overloaded by something wrong at the hip or the ankle or somewhere else. So, kind of my entrepreneurial sort of why I'm here is because I found a problem and I was trying to solve it for myself. And then I said, this is not just a problem for me. This is a problem for a hell of a lot of other people. What can we do to be better than what's out there? And I didn't know a thing about business, just a little trumpet player, right? But I've built a pretty awesome company that's going to go somewhere really big because we looked for where the problem was and tried to solve it. And I feel like it's been a really cool journey. And I'm so lucky to have found entrepreneurship. I'm so lucky to have found people like you guys, because we're all crazy and we all need to be in rooms with other crazy people because the rest of this world does not understand entrepreneurs. I promise. I get this, And so anyway, I think, I mean, we can just talk about whatever questions anybody has or experience shares you have of your own crazy stuff is fine with me too. I don't care.
So do you think that you have to be crazy to be an entrepreneur, or does being an entrepreneur make you crazy?
I think you're already both, but I think you're already a little crazy if you choose that path and stay in it. A lot of people dabble, they'll get in, they'll be like, woo, not for me, but I think if you get up every day and you're like, this is for me, I want, give me mega fires. I want to have to put them out every day. Yeah, you're crazy. And it's great because the world needs us, right?
Yeah. I want to know who's on your leadership team now at RunLab, because you're a big enough company that you, like you said, you can't do it all. So who did you hire to help you at a leadership level?
Really good question. And actually, one of the points I kind of made a couple of points of like, what are the things that if I were to have to think about take home things of my experience and the things I've learned, one of them is building the right team, right? Because I'm terrible at technology. I'm terrible at so many things. And so I had to find people that fill those gaps for me. And actually my leadership team has been a grow your own situation. My number 2 guy, who I could not live without at this point, he sold shoes when I found him, and he was just doing my books part-time. Lucas is his name. And he has grown to become not only one of my closest friends, but an absolute necessity in this business. Because if you guys, one thing that I recommend is always, when you're looking for important hires in your business, do a DISC profile on them or do something. If you're not familiar with DISC, it's a kind of a Tony Robbins thing. You don't have to get into that part of it, but the DISC thing itself is awesome. But it's basically a personality profile. And so the DISC all stand for something. Well, Lucas and I, what's so great about us is I'm 99% DI, which is decision maker and influencer. And he's 99% sensitive and calculating, which is the SC. So together we make a full profile, and he's amazing at organization and all these other pieces. So not only does I got a little bit lucky with him, but I also identified really early on that he was good at what I wasn't good at. And he also was 2 feet in on the business. It didn't matter. I didn't care about his resume. I don't care that he's never done operations before. He's going to be the best COO that I probably could have, because he's growing into that role in an organic way. I hire based on personality first. Personality and goals. I always have people fill out a goal. What is your 1 and 3 year personal goal and professional goal? Because if I don't know that they want to move to Alaska next year and get married to their fiance, and how am I going to build a company around somebody like that? So understanding where they want to be is a huge piece of it. So that's how I've built the leadership team, is that way. And with,
awesome.
Like I say, I hire for personality first and resume second, always.
So tell us a little bit more about EO, because it comes up with every speaker. So it's good to kind of like drive it in that team of advisors that you need at some point, like Jim was mentioning before. Talk about EO with us.
I love EO. So EO is Entrepreneurs Organization, and I started in Accelerator. So EO has an accelerator group. So depending on where your revenue is, so EO, you have to be at $1 million. They're changing. I think you have to be at $1.5 million. Right now, I think it's still $1 million because of COVID, but soon it'll be $1.5 million. But anyway, if you're not there, if you're at 250, you can join Accelerator. And Accelerator is an amazing. I would even if I were over $1 million, I'd join Accelerator first, because there's so much learning content. And what they do is they'll do a quarterly learning day where you learn all kinds of stuff. A lot of it's based around Vern Harnish's stuff and scaling up and that kind of thing. But it's very, very useful information. I don't think I'd be where I am if I didn't have EO, and especially starting an Accelerator. It's been such a great thing. So you have a quarterly learning day where everybody gets together and they do that piece. And then you have a monthly forum where you get together with, so I coach an accountability group for EO now that I'm in, or for Accelerator now that I'm in EO. But you get together and you share, what's your biggest sticking point this month in the business? What are you having problems with? Celebrate your wins together, that sort of thing. It's a very close-knit organization. When you get out of Accelerator and get into EO, you add the personal component to it. So now I have a group of 8 other business owners in the Austin area. We get together every month and we share like deepest, darkest stuff, right? I've had people in my groups, we talk about affairs we've had. We talk about losing businesses. We talk about terrible decisions, like all your inner stuff that you kind of can't talk about a lot of times with your employees or your family even, or the rest of the world. That stuff comes out in EO in a way that makes you feel connected to other business owners in a way that you just don't get out in regular, out at the bar having drinks with them. So can't recommend it enough. It's not just the personal piece, it's business stuff too. But that's the first group of people I go to when I have a big decision to make and I don't know what to do. They always, everybody, it's a very cool organization. And I hear good things about Vistage as well. I haven't ever been a part of it, but just being part of something where you have a peer group, can't recommend that enough. Having a mentor and having a peer group, because we all go through all of these same things. Everybody's going through these same issues that, you know, you're all dealing with. Having other people to just listen to you is such an important thing.
That's awesome. Who else has questions for Kim? I don't know if I can see the chat very well, so I might ask for some help from Bill or Joshua here.
Why are you here? What are you looking for?
There is a question. Do you have a business plan, an elevator pitch, and are you raising capital?
No, and no. So I actually, my business plan was the Start Run Lab profit. So that's how that started.
There you go.
Right. So I have actually, I mean, I say no kind of jokingly about that. Our business plan for the expansion, I did this acquisition, these 2 acquisitions in the last month, very, very sporadically, because I saw an opportunity inside of COVID that is going to close very quickly once there's a vaccine, because all of a sudden people will be able to go back to gyms again, and they're not going to be scared of closing, and, you know, revenue's not going to be down anymore. So I felt like that was something I needed to do and then figure out the pieces later, which again is a hugely risky thing. But it's also, I'm a big opportunist, and I'm a huge fan of always looking for those kinds of things, because those are the ones that tend to either, you know, sink you or turn into massive success later. So we are building a business plan around that piece. And then elevator pitch, I mean, kind of, I'm a fan of having, you know, a 1-sentence description of what you do. We're a motion analysis company ultimately, but we're trying to tweak that because we're adding now this group training piece into it. We're going to have nutrition. We're going to do golf analysis. So we'll have to revamp what that is. So I don't really have an elevator pitch in the sense that you're talking about, but I am, like we talked about with Adrian earlier, I'm a fan of having a 1-sentence description of what you do. So I'm revamping Ryan right now, because now we do other things that we didn't do before. So, yeah. And I think at some point I probably will need to raise capital if I want to go big. I've loved the fact that I've never had to give up a piece of my company. I love the fact that I've bootstrapped it. I love the story of what this is, where it's gotten to with, you know, $0. I like that as a piece of it. And I think that when I get ready to, if I can't keep doing this and kind of, you know, affording to do it in the way that I am now, then, you know, I'll probably have to raise some money. But I don't know, hopefully we'll get big enough where that'll be something that can work if it needs to, you know, that people will be interested in.
Do you think
Excellent.
how do you think you'll exit this business someday? Have
really
you thought about that? Yeah,
for sure. So I think when I first started this business, I didn't even think about selling it. You know, that's like, why would I sell this? This is what I do, right? Well, now, you know, once you make that shift from kind of creating a job for yourself into creating a company and being an entrepreneur and being a CEO, somewhere along the way, you make that shift. You're like, okay, this isn't my life. This is my business. And at some point I want to sell this and probably do something else. So I would like this to be a national, and I mean, in all 50 states kind of business before I sell. Monetizable model with the healthcare facility or the group training facility, kind of Orange Theory plus healthcare inside and motion analysis. That doesn't exist. Nobody has that right now. So I think that if we can create a model that acts like a franchise, that's probably the point when things could get interesting, because now we've added, you know, membership-based stuff, and that is going to help increase the multiple for a sale significantly over just a service business. And that was something I always wanted to solve before I really thought about selling. I didn't want to try to sell a service business that works in a medical space, because you're limited in how much you can charge because of insurance, you know? And so having that other piece was such an important part of creating something that really could go for some big money at some point. So we're kind of right there. But that's when I think I start thinking about an exit, is once I've got kind of the model home really built, and then can go start dropping it in other places and feel like, okay, now there's something somebody would really want.
I love that. I saw Ken asked who your competitors are.
Well, so now that we're in the gym space, Orange Theory and CrossFit are huge competitors for us. Like on the gait analysis side, our biggest competitor is that people equate gait analysis with what a shoe store does, which is, like I said before, that they're not even in the same stratosphere as far as what we do and what they do. But people's minds, that's when they hear gait analysis or stride analysis or run analysis, they immediately go to, oh yeah, I had one of those. I went to, Texas Running Company, whatever. And we battle that. So one of the things I've tried to figure out is how do we call it something different so people don't already have a preconceived notion of what it is. So our biggest competitor is a lack of understanding of what we do more than an actual person or another company. But it's a hard one to solve. It really is. We've struggled big time with that.
Yeah, I can understand that. You think, I think what's great about your story too is you have a business that's extremely focused on a very specific audience, and I think that helps you grow faster. And do you have any advice around marketing and selling for other service-based businesses that are trying to get going?
I think it's been a double-edged sword. That nichiness has been good and bad, because for instance, RunLab, people think, well, I'm not a runner, I don't need to go there. But we use running as an assessment tool for anybody. So we've, like you said in your intro, for what we do, we've worked with kids with Down syndrome. I built a whole special needs running team, all kids with Down syndrome and all kinds of movement disorders and everything. We've worked with people with MS. We've worked with people who have one leg. Like we look at movement. We look at the way that somebody moves and says, how do we help you move better based on the way you're built? And we look at everything as a unique snowflake of biomechanics. And how do we move this person a little further to the right to be a little more efficient? So that nichiness has been both good and bad. And I would say that if I were to do it over again, I would probably and this is what we're going to do. I'm going to rebrand the entire company with a new name. It'll be called Physio, P-H-Y-Z-I-O. But underneath that, we'll be able to have RunLab, Golf Lab, whatever the group training piece is. That's how I would have done it from the beginning if I could do it over again, because then I could market that vertical. I could market RunLab to the runners, but I could market the company to everybody and say, hey, we have a new and innovative way to assess you, but without pigeonholing. And I think we've alienated probably more people than we've gotten with the name. So I think that's one thing, is to understand who your target demographic really is. If for us, if it were just runners, we did a good job. We could have gotten a lot more people had we not been quite so focused on just the runners and letting everybody know that we just have a new way to assess people, however you are. And I think service-based businesses really identifying your demographic. One thing that helped us is we started recognizing not which people come in the most. We get tons and tons and tons of, let's say, 37-year-old moms who have kids that are just old enough now where they can go out and start training for the half marathon again, or they can push them in a stroller or whatever. We get a lot of those people, but are those the people that come in and spend the most money with us? No, we probably see the most of those on just quantity, but they have kids at home. So they can't just come in 3 times a week or whatever. So we identified a very specific demographic of person who comes in and spends the most money with us. Those people live within 3 miles of a facility. They are not married or not married, but no kids. They self-identify as a triathlete or a marathoner or whatever the thing is. We've got a whole list of those things, and we take it all the way down into as many demographics as we can. Well, we call that guy Tony. And so when somebody comes in that matches a Tony profile, we know that guy is somebody that's going to probably come in and spend a bunch of money with us. We try to find out, where do they hang out? Where do we market? Where do we target market to the Tonys? Where are they? Because wherever that guy is, there's more guys like him hanging out around him. So that's been one of the better things we've done from a marketing perspective, is stop looking at who's coming in the most, look at who's spending the most money and go find more of them. Because they may not be the biggest piece of the pie chart, but they spend the most money. This is your world, So.
That's great advice, though. I love it. You put it in such an easy to understand and accessible way. I think a lot of people are having aha moments. So before we wrap up, does anybody else have any other questions while we have her? I feel really lucky to have had the opportunity to listen to her speak, because she's been really fun and great storyteller.
Well, and
Thank you very much.
Oh gosh, you guys are so welcome. I love this stuff. So if anybody wants to have coffee or get a hold of me later, or, you know, any of this kind of stuff, I love talking entrepreneurship. I love talking, you know, if you have business ideas you want to chat through, or just sticking points, or just need an ear. Honestly, I like I say, my EO forum, you know, I go all the time and say, oh my God, you guys listen, you know, so sometimes you just need somebody to talk to who understands, who's not your husband or wife, who's like, oh my God, yeah, tell me more about your, you know, your business woes. So I get that. But yeah, you can definitely send my info out, Jessica, and let anybody who wants to contact me.
Oh, that's so generous.
Oh,
thank you.
It. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. And so that's it. That's our last Spark speaker of 2020. I think we're all kind of happy that 2020 is wrapping up. So we can hope for a better 2021. Spark is normally an after hours happy hour style event. So I think once we get back to in person again, hopefully we'll be able to do it that way. But really appreciate your time, Kim. As I mentioned before, if everybody could just follow the Round Rock Chamber and 1 Million Cups on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and just keep up to date with when the event schedule is released for 2021. The Round Rock Chamber also has an online calendar where you can keep some of that stuff up to date. So that is all. I look forward to seeing you guys next year. Bye, guys.
Take care, everyone. Happy holidays.
Thank you.